Yo, yes, Epoch here, and welcome to my first non-reaction video. I can finally say that I'm not just a lazy, filthy reaction channel that does not add any value to the content it's reacting to. This time, I will be ranting that content instead. Before we go through the video, I want to do a quick social experiment. Apparently, 97.4% of people watching my videos are not subscribed. Can you believe that? So subscribe and we will see if this actually works in my next video. But let's cut the bullshit. Today we are ranking the winners of this century so far, from 2001 to 2025, with Austria and Georgia of course. We are going to go in random order, but I think it would be fitting to start off with someone who we had the privilege, or not, to experience in the great 2025. Of course I'm talking about Sweden 2015, Måns Zelmerlöw, Heroes. How this is going to work is that we have tiers. F being the worst, meaning that the winning act did not add anything to the future of the contest, did not build on the hype afterwards, and that I personally disliked it. Meanwhile, S means that it revolutionized the contest in some way, and I probably adore that song. Heroes is a pretty basic pop song, and even then, it was not something new. But it's Sweden. It was executed well, and of course, it's famous for the interactive LED screen and the animations on it. But for me, the number one thing about us winning is that someone else did not win. Thank God. The song itself is about how anyone can be a hero. But that reminds me of something. Yeah, he did not innovate much. Måns' winning certainly made an impact on future editions though. Artists and delegations realized that a well-performed solid song might just not be enough. You need charisma and innovative staging. Song-wise, I'm sorry, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, and for that, it's going into B, but it's a solid B. You might have liked Måns returning, but now we are moving to somewhere and to someone which I heavily doubt that you would like to see return. Russia 2008. Dima Bilan, Believe. I must get one thing out of the way. No matter how much I hate Russia in a political and a historical sense for obvious reasons, they still have won Eurovision before, so I have to cover them. And to be fair, Russia was a powerhouse. Well, maybe except their 2018 entry, and whatever they tried to do with Filip Kirkorov in the 90s. It's an entry which I do not hate as much as maybe other Euro fans. Part of that could be because my parents used to listen to Dima Bilan even outside of Eurovision and before I was even born. Looking back, I understand why some people say that Ukraine should have won in 2008 and that Russia should have won in 2016 instead of what actually happened. But I think both Ukraine's and Russia's songs in 2008 were not that winning worthy. And in all honesty, Dima Bilan's attempt in 2006 was better, had a great hook, and fit well for that time. But of course, because of Florida, which we will get to, he had no chance. I think that we can compare Dima Bilan's win to a fruit that slowly ripens until it can finally be picked. Even if the song was not the best, the skating concept is unique. He was of course a great performer, and the competition was just not the strongest. And if you are curious, my winner for that year would have to be Turkey. Russia. Most people would probably tell me to put you in F, and they would not be wrong. But maybe it's because when I became a Eurovision fan, I loved watching winner rankings and compilation videos, but I do not think this was that bad. So I'm putting this in D, maybe in lower D, but not enough. From a country about which I will not speak for a while when it comes to Eurovision, to a country which is an absolute Eurovision powerhouse. Ukraine 2004. Ruslana, Wild Dances. From a lyrical ballad to a crazy energetic performance. The best way to describe the song in one word would be to take inspiration from its title, Wild. Maybe now it does not feel special. But back then, a song so energetic, so wild, so aggressive, a song for which it felt like there were no really boundaries for. It was so fresh, and I really mean everything. From the unhinged choreography to the pounding drums and to the style. The fact as well that it was only Ukraine's second year in the contest and how the song blends Carpathian folklore. Mwah. With all of this context in mind, Ukraine's entry for 2004 is going in B tier. Did someone say Eurovision powerhouse? 2012, Sweden, Loreen, Euphoria. A song which really does not need an introduction. Let's not forget that an artificial snowflake got into her mouth during the jury show, which, if you don't know, accounts for for 50% of your vote. But the way she handled it shows her professionalism and that she really did deserve the victory. It is hard to not call this a revolutionary performance. It showed that you don't need flashy costume changes or big props. A powerful song with a slick performance sung with ease is enough. Of course, though, the biggest achievement is that it became a global sensation, which of course not many songs after Eurovision can brag about. All in all, no surprises, no shockers, S tier. But you know what probably needs an introduction? Azerbaijan 2011. Elle and Nikki, Running Scared. I'm running, I'm scared tonight. Now, since I was not even 3 years old when the contest aired, I must admit, I do not know who the favorites are, okay? But wow, this is incredibly mediocre. Okay, so I tried finding who were the favorites at the time, and I see France and Estonia specifically popping up a lot. Nor Estonia nor France even came close. I will need your help to understand why this one. The harmonies were pretty beautiful, I guess, but even then, it did not sound live like the studio cut. I guess it just deeply resonated with people at the time. Who knows? It was Azerbaijan's first win, and before that, their lowest result in 3 attempts was 8th, which is brilliant and extremely fantastic, and any country would be over the moon with that, of course. But I want to talk about something more interesting, and I think that you, the Euro fans, would be also, you probably already heard about this, but I do think that it is pretty interesting. In the lead up to Eurovision 2013, the Lithuanian news site, yes, the Lithuanian news site, of course I would know about this, Penkiolika published undercover footage alleging that people approached students in Vilnius and offered money in exchange for voting for Azerbaijan's entry in the televote. The alleged method involved handing out SIM cards in introductions to send multiple SMS votes within the official voting window. A plan reportedly expected to be carried out in up to 15 countries. Of course, this did happen in 2013, not in 2011 when Azerbaijan won. And the EBU did say that their investigation found that there is no connection between the individuals and the Azeri broadcaster. Maybe it was some sort of an individual project, who knows. If you know more information about this, comment down below. I will leave the full article in the description, but what particularly caught my eye from the technical standpoint is that, and I quote, service providers would get suspicious, a network overload. We've done this before in different countries. That is how the technology works. Otherwise, we could have groups of 20 people, give them 10 phones, and have them send 20 messages each. But that would just overload the network and produce no result. I hope that the result is legitimate, and that it was just an underwhelming year. And I mean, to be fair, Italy also surprised everyone by finishing second. I cannot even listen to that song. Now, in my opinion, out of the songs that did well, Eric Sade's Popular would have made it the best winner. It has just aged so well. We saw him recently perform at Eurovision and he was brilliant. But of course, we are not here to talk about second or third places. We are here to talk about the first place, and just the fact that we're talking more about second or third places or controversies, I mean, I think it says enough, and it says a lot about the winner. It's an okay song, and it got Azerbaijan its first win, but I cannot find a reason beyond that to put it above F. Now let's go to a win which you may not remember, but more for the amount of time that has passed since it than for the actual winners. Estonia 2001, Tanel Padar, Dave Benston, and 2XL. Everybody. Firstly, every time I watch the performance, I can't stop thinking about how drunk the blue shirt guy is. This was not only Estonia's first win, it was not only the first win from the Baltics, it was the first win from a post-Soviet country. The song was very simple, written entirely by Estonians with that party anthem vibe. Because of that, it stood out from the crowd, because ballads were still the more dominant power at the time. I am still Team Helena Paparizou, because even though she did not win, her impact, not of my number one, we know the impact of that song, but Die For You is translated to at least a couple different languages. Like, a cover of Die For You, it's so popular, it's played at every gathering, at every party. Like, the impact of Die For You is truly understated. Even though Estonia was far from being my favorite, I feel like the more I age, the more it grows on me. It celebrates the simple things in life and does not try to be something it is not. Also, how can I just not mention the fact that Dave Benston was the first black artist to win the Eurovision Song Contest, and I'm pretty sure he was Aruban as well, or like originated from Aruba, which is pretty cool. The win opened up Estonia more to the west, showed how innovative it is, and opened a pathway for other post-Soviet countries like Latvia the following year and Ukraine in 2004 to win. Overall, even though for most of my life I did not understand this, it still has a special place in my heart, as the act that has won Eurovision for a Baltic country for the very first time. It's going in C tier. Moving on, let's tackle the elephant in the room, sort of. Israel 2018, Netta, Toy. Before you start sending me literal death threats, just because I cover a country does not mean I support the actions of that country. In fact, according to EBU, it's a competition between broadcasters and not countries, even though we all do not believe that shit. When I first heard Netta's song, well, to say the least, I did not like it. I found it annoying, I found it stupid, and really found that it sort of made mockery out of Eurovision. But look, disclaimer, I was about 9 years old. So yeah, my opinion changed on it quickly enough, and I quickly understood why it was the main favorite of the bookmakers. I know that Cyprus was first at the end of the odds, but that only happened after we had like an unproportional spike because of the dress rehearsal. So yeah, this happens every time, you know, when the same year when the UK's performance happened and we had that stage invasion, which is completely unrelated. We saw UK spike in the odds. So yeah, sometimes the bookmakers act too emotionally. The song did not have a deep message. It was easy to understand from the get-go that it was about women empowerment. Also, thank God that she did not get sued for mentioning Pikachu, knowing Nintendo. In my opinion, the performance was perfect. It had the energy we all expected from it. I liked how we would momentarily zoom in on the dancers, and they would just be doing something stupid. The vocals were also on point. All that mattered was if it was up to your taste or not. I must say that I was a really big fan of Bulgaria that year, so if you remember the results, you would note that 9-year-old me was not happy. Before I go back to my tier list, I must mention that she is undoubtedly an icon in the Eurovision fandom, as she is famous for consistently getting the Eurovision host city wrong.
Next time in Jerusalem! Coming to Amsterdam! Next year in Rome.
The next hosting city would be Stockholm.
Congratulations, Switzerland. Next year in Geneva.
I predict that the next hosting city for the Eurovision Song Contest 2026 would be Innsbruck.
With all this in mind, message-wise, feminism was not something new. There were some light plagiarism accusations if you remember, but the performance was great and the song now has over 135 million streams on Spotify. On YouTube it has like 250 million reviews if you combine some of like the biggest videos of Toy, and of course she is still an icon. In conclusion, I think that the win is deserved, but the lack of an impact on future editions is what is going to bring it down a bit. Solid D tier, okay winner, just nothing game-changing really. Next up, I want to go to a country with the most rock bands per capita, and you guessed it, Finland 2006. Lordy, Hard Rock Hallelujah. Rock and roll angels, scream that hard rock hallelujah. This may be it. That's what I might say if you would ask me what is the most iconic Eurovision performance. But first, context. 2006 was a year filled with ballads, Europop, and generally speaking, pretty safe entries. Finland before 2006 were horrible, like really horrible, and I'm not even exaggerating. They had no qualifications to the final. Well, I mean, to be fair, there were not many editions at the time with semifinals, but since 1961, the year in which they debuted, their best result was 6th, not to mention 8 last places, and 3 occasions of 0 points. This was massive. It became the first rock metal band to win Eurovision. From the costumes, to the bat wings during the bridge, to the Finnish hat. This was so well done. Also, I used to really find this guy hilarious for some reason, and I still do. There were some Satanism allegations, but that's just stupid, and they have denied that. The song is about evoking an apocalypse. Overall, not something I would listen to, but this is so iconic, and the performance is just pure entertainment. Thought of going gay, but you know what? S tier. Why not go from something people used to literally call satanic to something uplifting yet melancholic to a folk pop ballad? Of course, I'm talking about Denmark 2013, Emily the Forest, Only Teardrops. This song has a special place in my heart. Now, to be fair, a lot of winners have. But why specifically this one? That's because I remember the days when at my grandmother's house, it was summer, I was like 10 years old. I remember that like I would just sit in the veranda. It would be like the evening, and I would just watch some ESC related videos, and I would listen to only Teardrops, and those memories just feel very soothing. I remember finding her really attractive as well, but even back then, when I would listen to it, I would not get like winner vibes from it, which maybe as well created this sort of underdog narrative, which is very easy to get behind. Going forward, if you try to find how it impacted future editions, you probably could latch on to the folk elements, the drums, the flute. I was about to say the fact that she was barefoot, but the year before there was Loreen, so I mean Loreen I think brought being barefoot into ESC more than Emily the Forest. I also must mention that she sort of became a meme last year in the Eurovision community because she was a juror in many national finals. And in most of the national finals, which she was a part of, when she was a part of the jury, the winner outcome would be very surprising. Like, it would be a surprise winner every time Emily the Forest was a juror, and that sort of became a meme. I must also mention that the contest was held in Malmo, so she probably felt huge support because of that. Overall, it's not that big of a deal when it comes to winning Eurovision. I'm gonna go C tier, even though I do know that a lot of people would go D tier. Now let's go on a more controversial winner, and onto a winner which I may spend talking about more time than others. Ukraine 2022, Kalash Orchestra, Stefania. Talking about this topic, I do not feel like it would be doing it justice without putting you into the situation. February 24th, 2022, Russia starts its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The next day, thankfully, Russia gets kicked out of Eurovision. But let's take a step back. Let's go to February 12th. Another year, another strong final of Whitbeer, and we get a winner. A good winner for that matter. Alina Pash, Trini Zabuti Pritki. I remember that time very well. I remember really being obsessed about Italy's song, and heck, I still love that song to this day. But we are here to talk Ukraine, and Ukraine, well, the song was really popular, like what you would expect with songs like these from Ukraine. It was really popular among Eurofans and OGA. It was rare to find a top at that time. I remember myself searching for tops at that time, and it would be very rare where you would not see Ukraine as first place. The song was very folky, but also modern. It included rap and also electronic beats. Ukraine was sitting in second place in the odds, but not too far off last year's winners of that time, Italy, until February 16th. Before this date, news came out about her 2015 trip to Crimea, which she allegedly entered via Russia rather than through Ukrainian territory, which is a violation of Ukrainian law since Russia's 2014 annexation. Alina did try to defend herself later on that she crossed from Ukraine by bus, but those documents were later deemed forged by the border authorities. Yikes. So yeah, if she would not have withdrawn, she would have almost certainly been disqualified by Suspilna. If I had a nickel for every time that Ukraine withdrew or changed their artist due to Crimea, I would have 2 nickels.
Hi Anya, hi Maru, welcome to Tel Aviv. So I have very uncomfortable question to you. Crimea is Ukraine?
Ukraine, of course.
Which is not much, but it's weird that it happened twice. It is a bit misleading though. It is not even mentioning the fact that it was one of the main reasons why Ukraine did not participate in Eurovision 2015, and the main reason why Russia was not allowed to participate in 2017. So Crimea's influence has been bigger than that. Now, after Alina Pash, 6 days later, on the 22nd of February, the Vidbir runners-up, Kalish Orchestra, were selected to represent Ukraine. Reason it took so long was because heavy background checks were being made to make sure that history did not repeat itself. The song is a dynamic blend of Ukrainian folk music and hip-hop, and for me at least in some ways maybe similar to Shum, but this one is much more accessible. The song initially was supposed to be dedicated to Psuk's mother, the main vocalist's mother, but after Russia's full-scale invasion, it gained a whole new meaning and became almost an anthem for the nation. Since after they got selected, a couple of days later, Russia's invasion began. Ukraine proceeded to skyrocket in the odds due to sympathy and solidarity. When it came to the final performance, it was very solid, just like Ukraine every year pretty much, with this entry especially having a lot of Ukrainian symbolism. Personally, I really enjoyed and still do enjoy the song. Here in Lithuania, it still gets played unironically, and overall I just think it has aged really well. My favorite of that year, Italy, to be fair, had a pretty shitty live performance, especially Blanco. So I do agree with the winning act, not just in a solidarity way like many, but in all other ways as well. I know that there are people who feel bad for Chanel or Sam Ryder, but I personally think it was very deserved. It's an entry which after seeing you would be like, yeah, this could win Eurovision. I mean, this is what Eurovision is all about singing in your native tongue, trying to combine your country's folk elements with something that would still please the worldwide masses. And most importantly, what Eurovision was even created for, uniting Europe. It got 439 televote points out of the possible 468. I know that some people would get real mad if I put it in as, like, oh, you put a pity song in as, oh. So because A is still empty, it's going in A tier.